Hi guys, welcome to this brand new video. In this video, I'll be covering OpenStack to OpenShift VM migration. So I'll be covering each and every step which I am covering in this migration process. Like this is the project which I am doing in my work job role, when we are migrating from OpenStack to OpenShift, and OpenStack version is 16.4 and OpenShift version is 4.18. So we are migrating virtual machines from OpenStack to OpenShift, and we are using MTV as a tool, migration toolkit, which is of OpenShift. So we have already deployed that in our cluster, and we have already migrated around 500 virtual machines to OpenShift. So I'll be telling you the complete process. It's not a hands-on lab or anything, but I'll tell you the process of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So I'll tell you each and every step which I'm doing in my job role as a migration expert. So so in this video, we'll understand how virtual machines work from OpenStack to OpenShift virtualization using Migration Toolkit for virtualization, also known as MTV. See, VM migration is not a direct disk copy, disk move, or anything. MTV doesn't touch the original OpenStack VM disk. Instead, it follows a stage process to avoid data corruption and downtime. So two things happen in migration stages. First thing is snapshot and volume creation in OpenStack, and second thing is data transfer from Populator Pod using a Populator Pod on OpenShift PVC. Like there are two things, right? First thing is volume and snapshot creation in OpenStack. So as you see from this screenshot, that OpenStack volume snapshot creation are the temporary volume. That's a temporary volume which gets created. So once that is created, that has to move to OpenShift, right? So from OpenStack to OpenShift. So we move that using a populator pod which gets created in the process. Then that populator pod will copy all the OpenShift PVCs, disk to OpenStack PVCs. No, sorry, OpenStack at volume to OpenShift PVCs using a populator pod, and that will happen automatically by itself. So first, MTV creates a clone and a clone of a resource VM in OpenStack. From these, not now temporary volumes are created. So temporary volumes are created, like so. These volumes present at point in time copy of the VM disk, also marked bootable, and are safe to read without impacting the running VM. So these are the steps which I follow, right? Which I follow in my process for migrating from virtual machines from OpenStack to OpenShift. Like it will try to create a clone or snapshot of the volume in OpenStack, and then it will try to create a puppet after like complete process. I'll tell you how migration happen. I'll tell you the complete process in like in next slides. There it is there in next slides. So there are certain steps we need to be done. So this is a snapshot. Like pardon me for the blurry image. Like it is not good. I know that, because these images is I faced very difficulty in bringing these images from my office laptop to my personal laptop. So sorry for this, because you don't worry about the don't worry about the images, because you understand the process, how it is happening. Understanding the process is very important. Like understand the process and then try to implement it as and when it is required by your company. So this is the OpenShift dashboard, OpenStack dashboard. In this dashboard, if you filter the virtual machine name by name, you need to filter a name, and then one ID will come, right? That ID came. You have to take that ID, just for a reference point. Like I had to just make a note of this ID. Open that this virtual machine I need to migrate. So this is the overall process. Actually, what happens, like in OpenShift MTV UI, first I need to create a provider. Then provider will have keystone authentication. When keystone, it will try to authenticate to keystone, and then project access, and it will have region access. And then MTV, this MTV using project providers, it will try to discover OpenStack inventory, like it discover the VMs, volumes, and networks. After that, I create a migration plan. In migration plan, I select VMs and network and storage mapping. I'll do in that migration plan, and after that, I start the migration. Once I start the migration, OpenStack volumes will get created, and a snapshot will get created, point in time copy. This volume, they are bootable. So once that volumes are created, once that volume creation is completed, OpenShift will create PVCs, and these PVCs will have data using Populator Pod. It will try to copy the data from these volumes to PVC, and it will take around 4 hours for 250 GB of VMs. Once the data is copied, those are converted to 𝐞𝐽 to a raw image over network. Once that is converted, our VM is up. Our VM is up, and we can run the VM. So that this is the complete overall picture of what's happening in the migration. So first it will try to create a volume in OpenStack and try to create a snapshot of the volume of in the OpenStack, and then try to create a first we need to create provider, and then we have to create migration plan, and then once we trigger migration plan, try to create a volume in OpenStack or snapshot, and then after that OpenShift side, what will happen is it will try to create a PVC and try to copy the data from that volume, a temporary volume which we created. It will not touch the volume which is there, which is of the virtual machine. It will not try to touch anything of the virtual machine, of anything of the VM in OpenStack. So the temporary volume, it gets copied by Populator Pod into PVC uh, in OpenShift. When that is done, that data is convert to 𝐞𝐽2 or URAW over network, and then Populator Pod gets 100% full. And once 100% is full, our VM is ready for running. So once that is done, our VM is ready for running. So first we need to create a provider, right? So how do we create a provider? To create a provider, we need to go to OpenShift console. In OpenShift console, we have to install operator called as OpenShift MTV. Once we install that operator, we need to create. Once we create that operator, automatically this a migration for virtual machine. This will pop up, or this will not be shown in the dashboard. Once you install that operator, then only these things will come, like left side of migration for virtualization overview, provider migration plan, network ranges, and storage map. This thing will show once you install the operator in operator hub. So we have to install MTV operator. We are using MTV and OpenShift MTV as an operator to create all these things, right? So we have to create our provider. Once we create provider, project name we have to select. We can select any name, and then provider name we need to no, we cannot select anything. We need to select OpenShift MTV project. We have to give provider resource name, CPNS we can give, or anything we can give, and you have to provide the URL of the OpenStack, where you have to provide the URL of the OpenStack and also provide the credentials of the OpenStack. Here you will provide the credentials of the OpenStack. Once that is done, you have to provide the region. Region is region 1, and project will be like what project you want in OpenStack, like what project you are selecting in OpenStack for the migration. The project name you need to give. So I gave CPNS or something. Like domain, you need to select the domain default. You need to select, and skip certificate validation. You need to select yes. Click on yes, and then proceed further. So when you proceed further, when you create provider, it will take some time for it to become ready. So once it becomes ready, it will be like this. Once the provider is ready, half of work is done. Like half of work is done. Now our OpenShift is able to communicate to OpenStack. So it will be able to fetch the virtual machines and all. Communication is happening. So, but where is the migration plan? So we need to create migration plan after that, after creating provider, because we have to reference provider in migration plan. So once that is done, we have to create migration plan. Creating. I'm sorry for the bloody image. Like it's very bad. It is very not good image. Like, but image is not the concern here. We need to understand the process. Like, okay. So so once provider is created, we need to create migration plan. For creating migration plan, we need to go to here. If you see like left side, right, provider, and then here you select migration plan. Once migration plan is created, you need to click on. So I took a snapshot wherein multiple migration plans are created, but in our case, like it will be only one. But here are many I guess. So because I have taken the snapshot of complete migration plans which we have created, all projects have selected at the top. So OpenShift MTV, that's the project name. That's the project name inside OpenShift. And then one migration plan, it will show here. Once migration plan shows here, we need to go to create migration plan. Click on migration plan, and then we have to go create. Click on create. At the right side, there will be something called as create. So we need to click on create migration plan. Once you open that create migration plan option at the top, it will be in blue color, so it will top at the right side, it will be there. Once you click on that, it will show there. And once you click on that, this page will be open. So this page, it will have a general information we need to provide for the migration plan. That's his plan name. We need to give a plan name, and then project name. What project name, you need to select OpenShift MTV, because that's a default project which created by Red Hat, OpenShift. Once that is done, we have to select source and target providers. Like, target provider source will be our created project provider name. You give our product provider name, and then you have to give target provider, you have to give host. And target project, what that target project means, like what namespace you want these virtual machines to come in. So in OpenShift, project is similar to namespace. So what project you want, would you want the virtual machines to be in? So that project name we need to provide, and what then that namespace, that virtual machine will be there. Once that is there, we need to go next. And here, if you see, like, if you come here in virtual machine section, you come here and you try to filter the virtual machine, you will be able to filter, because our OpenShift communication is happening with OpenStack. And because we selected the project, right, the project in OpenShift, project in OpenStack, we selected this project, right. Okay, where is it? Okay, so here we selected this project, right, CPNS. So there are multiple projects in OpenStack also. We selected this project, so this provider is for this project. So whatever is there in this project, CPNS project, it will show here. So we can filter the virtual machines by name. We can give the name, and then it will filter. It will try to filter the virtual machine, and then try to select the virtual machine, try to move forward. So we have to have the network mapping also. For having network mapping, we need to go to the again the instance of the virtual machine in OpenStack again, and to go and select that virtual machine instance. And select that, if you open this, so it will open this. It will have that an NR provider network. This is the network name. So network mapping we need to provide, right? So there's NR provider, that's the network name which is there for this virtual machine. So we have to correct. We have to give the correct network mapping and all. So I selected that network NR provider is there, right? So after that, network mapping will open, and after that, if you select drop down from source network and target network, if you drop down, if you to select, you ask to select the network. Select, if I do drop down, it will show multiple network which is there in the OpenShift cluster. So I selected one of the network which is available for my virtual machine, because as I saw NR provider, right, NR provider. So it is there, right, NR provider. Same network I'm assigning. So I'm assigning the same network, and then provide NAD, and network attached definitions are also created in OpenShift. By default, it doesn't create by default. We have to create that, because what kind of network we need for this virtual machine, we need to configure everything. So we created that in network attachment definitions in networking tab. Like left side, you see a networking, right? In that, there will be network attached definitions. I've created that in that. So once you move forward, it will try to add storage mapping. Storage mapping, source storage will be Ceph, because we have Ceph, and we are utilizing Ceph as a storage for our virtual machines. And this Ceph, we have created storage class, and this is storage class name. And Ceph storage source storage, I selected Ceph, and target storage, I selected this thing, right. Name, I've selected this. So once this is created, selected, then you have to go to NAD, optional. This is other settings. This is target network. It is optional. We can select, or we need to select, because that's a network for our virtual machine. After these are hooks. These are very important. Like, what Ansible script you need to run on virtual machine after pre-migration. Like, if I want to run any pre-migration hooks on virtual machine, I can run it. Like, let's suppose if I want to install certain packages which are required by my virtual machine after migration, I can run. Or pre-migration, let's suppose I want to configure certain gateways or something. I can use pre-migration playbook, and then try to configure that gateway, and then migrate it. That kind of hooks can be leveraged using these hooks. We can This is optional, we can skip it, because how we are doing is, we are migrating the virtual machine, and then later point of time we are running the Ansible script on that virtual machine. because we are changing gateway and then we are installing QMove agent. That is required by my required by the virtual machine, because host name it will not show by default. It has to have QMove agent installed so that it shows the host name. It gives the necessary information such as CPU and memory of the virtual machine and all. It gives the information using QMove agent. We are installing everything via Ansible after migration. We are taking the IP of the virtual machine which is migrated and then trying to run the Ansible on that virtual machine which we have migrated. I'll probably I'll share the Ansible playbook also. Like we have the Ansible playbook with us. I'll share in the description also if it is required. Like we are changing the gateway, we are doing nothing. We are just changing the gateway and then trying to install certain packages which are required by my virtual machine post migration. And also we are installing QMove agent which is required by my virtual machine because to show the host name and all. So that those are all we are doing it via post migration Ansible playbook script which we have, and we are running it after migration. Once that is done, so we have to create plan. Once plan is created, the migration will start, and then it will show the status. So in status it will have a pop-up called as start. Once you click on start button, it will try to migrate the virtual machine. Or if at all there are any issues with the network mapping or storage mapping, it will say plan cannot be started. Or if there are multiple NICs attached to the virtual machine, it will say plan cannot be started. You need to remove one virtual machine, one NIC card, so that plan can be started after that. That thing we did it. So let's move ahead. And after migration, what happens is, after migration, if I open the plan, so I have one virtual machine in this. Status is completed. It doesn't show completed, but before completing it says start. It will show start as an option wherein I need to click on start button and then it will start the migration. And then and if you see virtual machine, if you go and see virtual machine, it will have one virtual machine and the status will be succeeded. So this is migrated. So one virtual machine is migrated and this is successful, and data transfer is completed, and one disk we have. And if you see the start and complete time, like it took almost 6 hours. Almost 6 hours it took to migrate one virtual machine. Like it started at 2:24 a.m. in the morning and it ended at 8:29 in the morning. So it took almost 6 hours because the disk is very heavy. It's 250 GB of disk. So we are migrating to 250 GB of volume disk from OpenStack to OpenShift. So that's why it took a lot of time, because almost that this might be completely utilized or 90% utilized. That's why it took more time to copy the data. I'll show you like how much time it took to to create the volume, and how much time it took to copy the data and create PVC. I'll show you like in the next slide. I'll show you next slide. If you see next slide, right? It initializes 4:38 a.m. So it took almost 2 hours to create a volume in OpenStack, but to copy it and then make it as a PVC, it took almost like 8:27. So 8:27, the data transfer completely happened, and 8:29 the virtual machine started. So almost 4:28 to 8:27. So it's almost 4 hours. So 4 hours it took to copy the data from volume to PVC. So it is taking around 6 hours. So how we are doing is, we are not doing one VM at a time. We are doing four VMs at a time, and then creating multiple plans. Rather than one plan, we are creating multiple plans. Then four VMs at a time, and we are in four VMs at a time. 6 hours, four VMs completed. That's how we are calculating, and that's how we are doing it. We have already migrated around 450 VMs. We're still in the process, so there are multiple VMs still there. So we are still migrating. So once this is done, we need to check the logs and pods also. Like I've attached a snapshot also. Like once this is done, so this dashboard will have overview. Like when I click on the virtual machine, this dashboard will be open. Like it will have the virtual machine name and state as a running state and created when it is created. And if you see like CPU memory, how much CPU memory it is there. Time zone it is not there because cronny is not synced, right? Meaning we are syncing cronny also via Ansible. And host name, see if you see the host name, it is not showing anything. Guest agent required, it's saying guest. If you're installing guest agent via Ansible, we are installing guest agent and we are configuring cronny via Ansible to this virtual machine after migration. If you see what node it is scheduled on, and also it will have what launcher pod. One pod will be there, right? It actually creates two pods actually. That populator pod and also what launcher pod. That populator will copy all the PVCs, and what launcher pod will actually is actually the VM. Actually, the pod is actually the virtual machine which is running on the OpenShift cluster. Once this is done, so these are the logs which we see. Like these are the pods in the namespace. So in OpenShift, like what is like, if you see OC projects and then give the name, project name, it will try to switch to that project and try to give OC get pods, will try to give pods from that namespace. And if you see that these are the populator pods and these are the word launcher pods. And populator pod, once it is once it is 100%, it will be in completed state. If you see like up, it is completed, or it will be running state until it is completed. Once it is 100%, it is in completed state. So these are the two logs which we see. Like we can, so we have to check the progress by OC logs take the name of populator pod, and then OC logs -f take the populator name pod or populator pod name. That's all. It will give the logs of the populator pod, like how much data is getting copied. It will give the update and it will give the status of that. Once it is 100%, it will get into complete state. So these are the PVCs which gets created right at the end. I've attached multiple PVCs, but like overall, I'm giving you the reference. Like this is how it looks. Kubes, it will get PVC. It will give the number of PVCs are there in my cluster, in my namespace. And once that is done, our migration is completed. So we need to go to virtual machines and see our VM, see by our VM, like if our VM is migrated or not, and filter our VM, like take the VM ID name or anything, or just copy and then try to filter it in virtual machines. It should filter. Like once the VM is migrated, it will show in virtual machines. It will show. That's the overall process which I am doing it. So I hope you understood what I am doing it actually, how we are doing it. So overall picture you got it, right? So overall picture, how we are doing migration and all. So it is very important. Like so when we trigger migration, what happens? So what happens exactly, like from starting, I'll tell you. Like in OpenStack, we select the VM, and then after that we create a provider in OpenShift cluster in UI dashboard, and after that we'll create a OpenShift migration plan, and then using that plan we'll try to select the virtual machines and then try to migrate those virtual machines. And once we click on start migration, what will happen is it will try to create clone or snapshot of the volume in OpenStack. Rather than taking the same disk from the VM, it will try to create a snapshot and volume of the of the virtual machine in OpenStack and try to take that copy as app of. So how it will do is it will not take the same virtual machine disk. It will not take the disk. Take the copy of that disk and then try to copy it into PVCs in OpenShift. So what it does is it will try to create a snapshot or volume, and after that snapshot is created, it will take around 2 hours for the snapshot to get created. Once that snapshot is created, try to copy that snapshot to OpenShift PVC. Once PVC is created, data copied, and it is converted to 𝐞𝐽2. Once the PVC is created, it will be converted to 𝐞𝐽2 or raw over internet, over network. Once that is everything is completed, the virtual machine is ready to run. So we are running the virtual machine and we are seeing if the virtual machine is running or not. At the end we should get this thing. So we should see this thing actually. You see our virtual machine running state and in virtual machine section. That's all I wanted to cover in this video. So thanks for watching. I hope you got the overall understanding of how we are doing the migration and all. mm, I'll probably I'll bring many issues which we face during this migration process. Like multiple issues we face during this migration process. Sometimes the migration plan is not running state. It got into stuck state, or sometimes it is not plan not ready, or sometimes the PVC is not getting created, or sometimes OpenStack the volume is not getting created. There are many issues which we face during this process. So I'll probably create a video around that also, and then try to create a video around that also. Okay, that's all I wanted to cover in this video. Thanks for watching the video.